On what's happening as far as the U.S. China relationship is concerned this week. Well, Chinese leader Xi Jinping is calling for improved relations with the United States. In fact, in a meeting with the U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan on Thursday, Xi emphasized the importance of a stable and positive U.S. China relationship. According to a statement from Beijing, Xi highlighted the traditional friendship between the two countries and expressed his desire to advance these ties. In a notable departure from his usual demeanor, Xi Jinping asked Jake Sullivan to extend his regards to Joe Biden and showed a willingness to maintain open communication with him. But the Chinese premier's recent comments suggest Beijing is looking to ease tensions with the United States, and his tone reflects an effort to address ongoing issues such as U.S. restrictions on high-tech exports, tensions over Taiwan, China's support for Russia's war in Ukraine, and what U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan has described as Beijing's destabilizing actions in the South China Sea.
Since the Woodside Summit, our two sides have made important progress on key areas of cooperation that you and the President discussed, including counter-narcotics, military-to-military communications, and AI safety and risk. The President sent me here for the first trip by a national security advisor in 8 years to follow up on this agenda and to maintain the high-level strategic communication that is essential for responsibly managing the relationship.
Well, joining us for further clarity, TaiwanPlus reporter Aadil Brar. Thank you so much, Aadil, for making time for us on the World 24/7. Unusually now, Beijing has adopted a conciliatory tone in its reporting on this week's visit by Jake Sullivan, emphasizing cooperation while also claiming that Washington remains incorrect on its China policies. But Aadil, take us through the key takeaways and also the significance of the timing of this trip.
This is a very significant visit by Jake Sullivan. This comes after 8 years. We've had a national security advisor who's gone to China to restart some of the channels of communications which were shut down after Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan. And this visit will allow U.S. to draw guardrails in the relationship, as there are certain powder kegs in this region which can lead towards conflict. And both the sides are interested in making sure that the relationship does not turn into wider conflict in South China Sea and Taiwan. And that is why they are talking. And this visit will allow the next administration to also draw some of the basic frameworks which can make sure that US and China don't end up in a situation where they see themselves in a conflict. And Jake Sullivan went to Beijing to ensure that this channel of communication between the two sides remains open regardless of who is in charge in Washington, D.C.
Right, but the Biden administration has said and consistently aimed that they want a relationship with China that's characterized by competition rather than conflict. But with the U.S. election coming up in November, Democrats and Republicans are also increasingly highlighting concerns about China's impact as far as national security is concerned, also as far as economic growth is concerned. Aadil, does this bode well for the U.S.-China relationship in the long and short run?
I think it's good that they are talking about these sensitive issues which require higher level officials to visit each other. So we had a visit by Wang Yi last year in October when he also met Joe Biden. And this time we've seen that Sullivan met Xi Jinping. This hints that, there are certain areas where both sides see that they can have a conversation without turning into a wider conflict. And as U.S. describes this current status of the relationship as competition, China does not view in the similar fashion. China has its own red lines, whether it comes to Taiwan or South China Sea. But we can see that there are certain basic topics that both sides are willing to talk about, and that can make sure that, issues like South China Sea, which is the areas within the BRP Sierra Madre ship that's in the South China Sea controlled by Philippines, that flashpoint does not become into a wider conflict. And China is also testing the grounds by sending its Coast Guard vessels to the South China Sea and pushing the Philippines-US relationship. So from the Chinese side, we have not seen any scale down of the tensions, but the US wants to make sure that this channel of communication remains open so that there is no miscalculation.
Right, Aadil Brar, really appreciate you making time for us and joining us on the World 24/7.